Hi, my name is Dr. Shmuel Shields, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity today to speak for Hidabrut. I want to thank Iran for coming to film, and I want to thank Hidabrut for the wonderful work they do and for the tremendous outreach they do all over the world. I am actually a nutritionist. I've been in the field of nutrition for 25 years. I do have a private practice, and I'm also an educator. I've taught classes in nutrition at NYU, New York University, and for many, many other facilities and places. I'm also the author of a book called L'Chaim, 18 Chapters to Live By, which is a wonderful book teaching about nutrition and health and how to protect one's health. One of the things I wanted to cover today is how to achieve your weight loss goals. And I would like to just thank my wife, Miriam, for suggesting the topic and also for reminding me that today is a very special day. Today is Pesach Sheni. And because it's Pesach Sheni, that takes on even more significance because Pesach Sheni is a day that really commemorates the fact that people back in the time when the Korban Pesach was brought certain people were unable to bring the Korban Pesach because they were tamei. And they weren't able to, and they felt very badly about it, and they brought it to Moshe Rabbeinu's attention, and lo and behold, it was determined that there would be a Pesach Sheni to give these individuals a second chance to be able to bring the Korban Pesach. So one of the principles I want to talk about today is this concept of a second chance. We know in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, we have a concept of tshuva. Tshuva is an incredible, incredible gift that the Ribbon Shalom gave us. It also gives us a second chance. And even more than that, before you can do tshuva, something has to be there first. What has to be there first? Sin. And the Ribbon Shalom knew that people were going to sin, and that's why he gave us this special gift of tshuva. So we can see that human beings are not perfect. Many times we have very high expectations, and when we're following a weight loss program or whatever it might be, sometimes we fall off the wagon. And then what usually happens is we throw in the towel and give up and say, forget it, it's not working, I can't do it, we're very hard on ourselves, and so on and so forth. So I want to reassure you that we have a Pesach Sheni, we have a Ribbon Shalom that gave us the concept of tshuva, so we also have to consider in our own personal lives when we're trying to achieve our own goals that we could slip back a little bit, but we also have the opportunity for a second chance and to move forward. Having said that, I want to get into the topic today, and I know that the listening audience, there are many people in the listening audience today that have made attempts at weight loss, and many people out there have succeeded and they've lost weight. Unfortunately, it's usually inevitable that many people will regain the weight they lost. And I want to discuss why that might be and some of the things you might be able to do to make your weight loss efforts more successful. So the first thing I'd like to mention is this. One of my patients a few weeks ago brought to my attention a very interesting program called The Biggest Losers. And there was an individual who actually weighed about 430 some odd pounds. And in the course of 7 months, this individual brought his weight down to 191 pounds. Ultimately, he regained the weight, and it was determined that his metabolism was running slow for his body size, and that seemed to be a factor. But I think there's another factor that was overlooked. In order to lose that amount of weight, to go from 430 pounds to 191 pounds in 7 months means that the person lost approximately a pound or more than a pound every single day. Now that is very, very unusual. That is very unusual for someone to lose weight that fast. And I believe that that had a detrimental effect on the metabolic rate and probably was one of the causes that may have helped to return the weight that was lost. So one of the things you got to keep in mind is that nobody gains a pound or a pound and a half every day. So we can't expect to lose that amount of weight at that rate. So one of the things I want to tell you in terms of one of the tips for making you more successful at your weight loss goals is you have to lose slowly, but consistently. Slowly means a pound, 1 to 2 pounds a week. If you lose it slowly and sensibly, the ability to keep the weight off will be much greater than if it's lost rapidly. That's tip number one. The next tip I'd like to tell you about is the tip of transitions. It's very hard to go from whatever your current eating habits might be into a full-blown weight loss program that might demand changes that you're not ready to make. So I want to encourage you to take it slow. The truth of the matter is, if a person is going out for lunch every single day of the week and ordering 2 slices of pizza, they could, instead of giving up the pizza that they like to eat, technically, they could go out and bring it down to 1 slice of pizza. They will cut their calories by half. They'll still be eating the pizza they enjoy, and they'll lose weight without giving up necessarily their favorite foods. They might want to replace that other slice of pizza with maybe a salad or a soup or something like that just to round out the meal and make them feel a little bit fuller. Obviously, they'll still be saving calories, but that's one option, is just to simply cut your calories by cutting your portions. Now, that is one approach. I'm not saying it's the best approach, because usually when I work with my patients, I try to encourage them to change their food choices as well, which is very, very important. Having said that, I'll just tell you a little clinical review of a patient I've been working with for the last 16 months. I was also working with a patient that when I first met him, he was 405 pounds, and about 15, 16 months later, he's now down to 250, which is a much slower rate of weight loss, but this particular individual is continuing to lose, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 pounds a month, and he has brought his weight down significantly in a much longer period of time, but he has not regained at all in those last 16 months, but is continuing to lose. So it's a very interesting observation I made about the importance of slow and consistent weight loss. Another tip I'd like to give you is that you have to think of the kind of foods that the Ribbon Shalom has given us. He's given us whole foods, foods that have not been processed, foods that have not been tampered with. Along came a food industry and food scientists and food engineers that have done things to the foods, have manipulated the foods, have taken certain ingredients out of the foods, and have added other things back in, such as sugar and things like that. And basically, God gave us foods that have breaks, that tend to fill us, so we could stop eating at a certain point because we feel full. Once these food engineers have moved those components from the foods no longer have breaks, and it's like a roller coaster that's sort of like out of control. Let me give you an example. Most people in the audience that are listening to this film right now, watching this film, I should say, could easily sit down and polish off their favorite box of cookies, or they can eat a big bag of chips, no problem. But can you easily sit down and eat 6 or 7 or 8 apples? Probably not. What about 5 or 6 sweet potatoes? Becomes a little bit difficult. You certainly can't easily polish off a head of cabbage, because these foods have breaks in them. The same breaks that God put in them are still there, and they have a filling effect. The fiber in these foods expands in your stomach and creates a sense of sensation and keeps you full by eating less, because you can't really eat too much. You can't really overeat these foods. So if you want to be successful in your weight loss goals, you must switch or transition over into a primarily whole foods diet. And by the way, I'm going to encourage you never to use the word diet. Diets don't work. People lose weight, but they feel deprived, they feel hungry, they don't feel right, they want to revert back to their old eating habits, and that's ultimately what they do. Another thing you can keep in mind about the word diet is just look at the first three letters of the word. What does it spell? D-I-E, die. It's not a good connotation. So I would say forget about using the word diet. Never put yourself on a diet. Don't think that you're on a diet. Look at lifestyle instead. You want to promote a healthy lifestyle. If you view it as a lifestyle, then you will make the appropriate changes you need to do to promote better health. A very important thing. Also keep in mind, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to guard your health and to take care of your body, because your body is the vehicle that allows you to grow spiritually, it allows you to accomplish, it allows you to do mitzvahs. We need the body for locomotion. The body is really the vehicle that allows the soul to express itself in this world. And if that vehicle is not healthy, it's like a car with a flat tire. You need the car. Iran needed the car to get here from Brooklyn. If his car had a flat or broke down along the way, it wouldn't serve his purpose. So it's the same thing with the body. We have a tremendous obligation to express Hakaras Hatov to Hashem for giving us a body and for blessing us with a miraculous body that does things for us that are mind-boggling. And if we really knew how intricate the body was and how filled with wisdom it is, we would probably take better care of it. It's often said that people take better care of their cars than they take care of their bodies. So I'm hoping to emphasize that we do take better care of our bodies so we can fulfill God's will and hopefully do more mitzvahs for a longer amount of time by having good health. I just want to give you a few other tips before we close today. Another important goal or thing you need to do to achieve your weight loss goals is to stay well hydrated. A lot of times people are eating when they really should be drinking. Try to make sure that you drink an adequate amount of water throughout the day, maybe a cup of water every hour, so you feel satiated and you will feel better with more water in your meal plans. Many times you'll feel you won't need to eat as much. Sometimes drinking water before a meal, a half hour before, is a good idea as well. Okay, so we spoke about whole foods, we spoke about staying well hydrated, and we want to try to avoid things that will destabilize our blood sugars, things like sugar, things like white flour, things like beverages that are loaded with sugar and sweeteners and so on. These kind of things, these kind of snacks and foods spike our blood sugar and then drop it to very low levels and set up cravings and set up greater amounts of hunger. So we want to try to stick with whole foods, proteins, healthy fats, healthy fruits and vegetables. Healthy fats could include some avocado, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil, the oil that's found in fish, the oil that's found in nuts and seeds. These foods are healthy. They have healthy oils that should be used in a good healthy meal plan. In moderation, of course. If a food is caloric, has a lot of calories, you want to control the amount, the portions of those foods, but they should be used to keep us satiated and to provide these healthy fats that the body needs. Okay, those are some tips. I want to share another tip with you that is very important. Speed. Many people eat tremendously fast. It takes the brain 20 minutes to realize that the stomach is full. If you finish even a large meal in a few minutes, let's say a person throws down 3 slices of pizza in 5 minutes, even though physiologically the stomach is full, the person is going to still want to eat because the brain doesn't realize the stomach is full yet. So the best advice I can give you is to schlep it out. Eat slowly. Try to make the meal last longer, and you'll probably wind up being more satisfied with less food. So you'll have to think of ways to do that. Maybe stop eating, go away from the table, open a sefer, learn a little bit, come back, continue your meal, but try to find ways to slow down. That would be a big a big plus for you. The Rambam says that one of the worst things a person can do is to overeat. The Rambam says that overeating, stuffing the stomach, is one of the main causes of illness and disease. Overeating and eating bad foods is one of the primary causes, according to the Rambam, for disease and illness. As a matter of fact, the Rambam is so fervent on this point that he says it's better to eat a little bit of a bad food than too much of a good food. So we can see how devastating overeating can be to the body. It's almost like taking a machine and overusing it, overworking it. The parts heat up and eventually break down and wear out much faster. Same thing with the human body. Overeating requires the organs to work much harder and much longer and makes them more prone to a breakdown. So again, undereating, healthy food choices and snacks, not going too many hours without eating, try not to skip meals. That will slow down your metabolic rate. And of course, getting in adequate water, as we spoke about, and physical activity to help burn some of those excess calories. So in a nutshell, no pun intended, that would be some of the tips I'd like to give you today for achieving your weight loss goals. I want to again thank everybody for listening. I hope this was informative, and I hope you've gotten something out of this talk today.